It's time for Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimson and Kevin Scholla.
Hello, Susan. Welcome back.
Hey, Kevin. It's very nice to be here.
So as we go through Labor Day and Labor Day weekend, a lot of folks getting that last taste of summer, I guess. But there's a lot more to Labor Day than just hanging out and getting ready for school and maybe taking advantage of some sales. And I think some people don't really know what Labor Day is all about.
You know, Kevin, we've done this several times where we'll look at a holiday and see what the original intention of the holiday was and what has America done with that initial celebration. And looking at Labor Day, if you go to the U.S. Department of Labor website and read what the day is to celebrate, it was created by the labor movement, and it was to celebrate the American worker. The strength, the prosperity, the well-being of our country really comes from those working hands and the contributions of the American worker, whether it's the person working outside of the home, inside of the home, just contributing to the prosperity of our nation. And I know from my childhood, I remember that summertime was all the way through the summer until Labor Day, and we still do that here in Virginia. But in much of the nation, summertime is shorter. Everything is cut short. We don't really do things much around the seasons anymore. And I think that we have moved away from what the idea was behind celebrating Labor Day, and that is to celebrate the American worker and to have parades and to give a time of relaxation to those who labor hard and contribute so much to our nation.
And now, of course, under the Obama administration, and I know this isn't talked about as much anymore because they tried to skirt these issues when they really have some teeth to them, but it's hard to celebrate some folks on Labor Day because people still don't have jobs. All these years later when, you know, a lot of the issues have been turned to other things, but there's still a big problem state to state and nationwide when it comes to jobs in this country.
Without a doubt, our nation has been hampered by the policies that have been put into place by a liberal president, a liberal Senate, and looking at what America has been all about, you know, the vitality of our economy, it has been about the American worker and about the opportunity that a job brings. And certainly celebrating Labor Day was still pretty high unemployment numbers, and even with the numbers being somewhat lower, they mask the fact that really we've translated those full-time jobs into part-time jobs. Families are hurting, and I think that it would be instructive if more people would take a look at what that celebration of Labor Day originally was set up to do.
All right, Susan, very interesting. And people can check this out on the Department of Labor website if they don't know the ins and outs of what Labor Day actually means. But we, like you said, we've done this with a lot of holidays. I mean, you know, what gets me always is Memorial Day, where you want to have sales on all these other holidays. That's great, but it always would bug me on Memorial Day, or when people say Happy Memorial Day, like, you're just missing the point of, you know, what you're talking about. And here in this instance as well. But let's hope that more jobs are coming for more Americans as we get through this Labor Day, and it's been going on since the 1800s, as has dirty politics out of Chicago. So let's hope that we can change that as we move forward. We appreciate your commentary today, Susan. Thanks as always.
Thanks, Kevin.
Susan Stimson in Virginia. More Commonwealth Common Sense next week. Now our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Here's Sarah Steelman.
Thanks, Kevin. Interpretations can vary, but the numbers are facts. In the state of Missouri, law enforcement is required to file racial profiling information with the Attorney General's office annually. Let's take a look at what the numbers revealed for the city of Ferguson. The total population of Ferguson, Missouri is 15,865, of which 33.65% are white and 63% are black. In 2013, there were a total of 5,384 traffic stops. 686 were white, or 12.74%, and 4,632 were black, or 86%. Of those stops, there were 611 searches, 47 were white, or 12.85%, and 562 were black, or 12.13%. Of those stopped, 36 whites were arrested, which is 5.25%, and 483 blacks were arrested, which is 10.43%. I looked at my hometown Rolla for comparison purposes because it is approximately the same population size as Ferguson. However, the reverse racial mix, the white-black split, 82.76 white percent and 10.9% black. I wanted to look at the number of blacks and white stops in comparison to Ferguson. In Rolla, there were a total of 4,875 stops. Out of the total stops, 4,413, or almost 90.5%, were white, and 265, or 5.4%, were black. The search rate was 6.05% white and 9.81% black, and the arrest rate was 2.8 white and 4.5 black. The number of initial traffic stops is about the same for both, except one's black and one's white. These are simply statistics, and whoever is listening can draw their own conclusions, but sometimes it is useful to just look at the numbers. This is Sarah Steelman for Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. The Palin Update, including Commonwealth Common Sense and Steel Resolve, is on demand and available for download, so just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook. And follow along on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Susan B. Stimson, and at Sarah_Steelman. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Sarah Steelman, Susan Stimson, and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Melissa Couthier, and thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.